You should have told us you were selling this house. We would have helped you move. Those words hit me like a slap as I stood frozen at the end of my own driveway, staring at a moving truck parked in front of my beach house. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Just 20 minutes earlier, my neighbor Mrs. Wilson had called me, her voice tense and confused. "Zora, there's a truck outside your place. Your mother and sister are here. They're carrying furniture inside." I had laughed back then, certain it was a misunderstanding. My family loved drama, but this felt impossible. Yet here I was, watching my mother point toward my front door while my sister followed her instructions like this house already belonged to them. My name is Zora Malik, I'm 31 years old, and I work relentlessly for everything I own. 3 years ago, after years of saving and skipping vacations, I bought this small beach house near the shore. It wasn't luxurious, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a porch that caught the evening breeze, but it was mine. My first real victory. "Careful with that box, Hina," my mother called out. "The kitchen staff is fragile." Hina, my older sister, rolled her eyes but obeyed. She was 34, unemployed for most of her adult life, and the mother of 2 kids, Rayan, 7, and Alina, 5. The fathers were long gone, and somehow, that had never been her responsibility. It had always been everyone else's problem. I parked the car and stepped out. Gravel crunched under my feet as my mother finally noticed me. "Oh good, you're here," she said brightly. "Perfect timing. Come help us unload." "Emmy," I said carefully, forcing calm into my voice, "why is there a moving truck outside my house?" She frowned as if I'd asked something ridiculous. "Because we are moving in, obviously." The words didn't make sense at first. Moving in. Into my house. Hina dropped the box in her hands and crossed her arms. "It's basically family property anyway. Emmy and Abu helped you with the down payment." Helped. They had given me a small amount years ago, money I had tried to return multiple times. I had paid every mortgage installment, every tax bill, every repair on my own. "This is my house," I said, my voice shaking despite my effort. My mother waved me off. "Don't start, Zora. Hina needs space, and you live alone. It's selfish to keep all this to yourself." Selfish. The word burned. As Rayan and Alina ran across my porch, laughing, I felt something inside me tighten. This wasn't just about a house. It was about years of being overlooked, used, and expected to stay silent. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure I could. I stood there for a long moment, watching my childhood repeat itself right in front of me. My mother turned back toward the truck, already calling out instructions, while Hina dragged another box toward the door like she had every right to be there. My porch, was suddenly crowded with shoes, bags, and toys. "I need you all to stop," I said, louder this time. My mother didn't even turn around. "Zora, don't create a scene. The driver is charging by the hour." That familiar dismissal made my chest tighten. Every time I tried to speak up growing up, this was how it went. I was always the dramatic one. The difficult one. The one who needed to adjust. "I'm serious," I said, stepping in front of the door. "You can't just move in without asking me." Hina scoffed. "Relax. It's not like you're using all this space. You're single, you work all day. The kids need room." I looked at Rayan and Alina, now sitting on my porch steps, playing with a toy truck. They had no idea what was happening. And that made it worse, because I knew I'd be painted as the villain no matter what I did next. My mother finally faced me, her expression hardening. We are your family. Family doesn't ask permission. Something snapped inside me then, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. Quietly. I realized this wasn't confusion or miscommunication. This was entitlement. I'm going inside, I said, my voice steady in a way it had never been before. When I come back out, I expect this truck to be gone. My mother laughed. You calm down. You always do. I unlocked the door and stepped inside my house, shutting it firmly behind me. The familiar scent of my space wrapped around me, clean wood, ocean air, the faint smell of coffee from the morning. Every piece of furniture had a memory attached to it. Every corner reminded me of the nights I'd worked late, the weekends I'd skipped, the sacrifices I'd made. I leaned against the door, my hands shaking. Growing up, Hina had always been the fragile one. When she quit college, my parents said she was finding herself. When she had her first child, they said she was too young to be blamed. When the second came, they said life was hard on her. And when I succeeded, they said I was lucky. I walked through the living room, noticing boxes already stacked near the wall, their boxes. I pulled out my phone. First, I called a locksmith. Then, after a deep breath, I dialed the non-emergency police number. My finger hovered over the screen for a second. Calling the police on my own family felt wrong. But letting them take what I had built felt worse. For the first time, I chose myself. I was still on the phone when I heard the knocking start. At first, it was light, polite even, like my mother expected me to open the door and apologize for overreacting. I ended the call with the police dispatcher and set my phone down on the kitchen counter, my heart racing. Zora, open the door, my mother called through the wood. You're embarrassing us. I didn't answer. The knocking grew louder. Hina's voice joined in, sharp and irritated. Stop acting crazy. The kids are scared. That word, crazy, had always been their favorite. Whenever I refused to bend, whenever I stood my ground, they used it to shrink me back into place. I took a slow breath and walked to the living room window, pulling the curtain aside just enough to see outside. The moving truck was still there. The driver leaned against it, scrolling on his phone, clearly uncomfortable. Rayanne and Alina sat on the curb now, swinging their legs. My mother was pacing. You're being selfish, she shouted. After everything we've done for you. Everything. I almost laughed. I remembered working late nights in college while Hina slept in. I remembered sending money home when I barely had enough for rent. I remembered missing vacations, weddings, and weekends just to save for this house. I unlocked the door and opened it just enough to step outside, keeping my body firmly in the doorway. This is my property, I said, my voice calm but loud enough for everyone to hear. You cannot move in without my permission. Hina stepped forward. You'd really throw us out. In front of the kids. There it was, the guilt card. The one that had always worked before. I didn't invite you, I replied. You decided this on your own. My mother's face tightened. We helped you buy this house. You gave me a small loan, I said. Which I offered to pay back. I paid the mortgage. I pay the bills. This house is legally mine. That's when my mother's expression changed, from confidence to calculation. Fine, she said coldly. If you want to play like this, don't expect us to help you when you need us. I almost told her I never had. But before I could speak, a car pulled up behind the moving truck. The police. An officer stepped out, calm and professional. We received a call about a property dispute. My mother immediately switched tones. Officer, this is a family misunderstanding. My daughter is emotional. I met the officer's eyes. This is my house. They're trying to move in without my consent. The officer asked for identification. I handed over mine, then showed him my property documents on my phone. He listened carefully, then turned to my mother and sister. I'm sorry, he said firmly, but if the homeowner is asking you to leave, you need to comply. Hina's mouth fell open. You can't be serious. I am, the officer replied. For the first time, they realized I wasn't bluffing. The silence that followed the officer's words felt heavier than any shouting ever had. My mother stood frozen, her mouth slightly open, as if the idea of being told no had never fully occurred to her before. This is unbelievable, she muttered. After all the sacrifices we made. The officer stayed calm. Ma'am, I need you and your family to remove your belongings from the property. Hina's eyes filled with angry tears. Where are we supposed to go? I swallowed hard. I had known this moment would come, yet hearing the question still twisted something inside me. But I reminded myself, this was not my doing. They had decided without asking. They had crossed a line. That's not my responsibility, I said quietly. Hina stared at me like I'd betrayed her. You've changed, she said bitterly. You used to care about family. I almost laughed at that. Caring had always meant giving. Sacrificing. Staying silent. And I was done paying that price. The moving truck driver cleared his throat awkwardly. So, should I start loading everything back? My mother shot him a look, then turned to me one last time. You'll regret this, Sora. One day you'll need us. I didn't respond. I just stepped back and closed my front door. From inside, I listened as the boxes were carried back out. Each thud against the truck felt like another weight lifting off my chest. My hands were still shaking, but for the first time, the fear was mixed with something else, relief. When the noise finally stopped, my phone buzzed. A message from my aunt. Aunt Samina, your mother just called me. She says you threw them out. Is that true? I sighed. The family narrative machine had already started. Me, they tried to move in without asking. I said no. There was a pause. Then another message. Aunt Samina, you should have handled it gently. Hina has children. I stared at the screen. Gently. I had spent my whole life being gentle, with my time, my money, my dreams. No one had ever been gentle with my boundaries. I put the phone down and walked through my house, checking every room. The boxes were gone. The toys were gone. My space was mine again. That evening, my mother called. I let it ring. Then she sent a voice note. Her tone was softer now, wounded. Sora, you hurt us today. Families don't involve police. I closed my eyes, listening until the end. Families also don't take what isn't theirs. I didn't reply. As the sun set over the ocean, I sat on my porch alone, the sound of waves steady and calm. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. The quiet didn't last. The next morning, I woke up to 23 missed calls. Most were from my mother. The rest were from relatives I hadn't spoken to in months. I didn't even need to open my messages to know what they said. In our family, news traveled fast, but never accurately. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone as it buzzed again. This time, it was Aunt Semina. I answered. Zora, she began without greeting, what were you thinking? Your mother was crying all night. I closed my eyes. Did she tell you they showed up with a moving truck? A pause. She said you invited them and then changed your mind. Of course she did. I never invited them, I said calmly. They tried to move in without asking. Aunt Semina sighed. Even if that's true, involving the police was extreme. Extreme. Not showing up with a truck. Not claiming ownership. My reaction was the problem. I set a boundary, I said. That's all. The line went quiet. Then she said, you know how Hina is. She can't handle rejection. That sentence explained my entire childhood. After the call, I checked my voicemail. One message stood out, from a number I didn't recognize. This is Mr. Collett, calling on behalf of your mother. We need to discuss the house. Please return my call. My stomach tightened. I called back. He introduced himself as a legal consultant. Not a lawyer, but close enough to sound intimidating. Your parents claim they contributed financially to the purchase of your home, he said. They believe they have rights. I have the deed, I replied. In my name. That may be, he said smoothly, but family arrangements can be complicated. I ended the call with shaking hands. That afternoon, I booked an appointment with Mr. Farouk, a property lawyer recommended by a colleague. I walked into his office with a folder full of documents and a knot in my chest. After reviewing everything, he leaned back in his chair. Zora, this house is legally yours. No one can force you to share it. Relief washed over me so strongly I nearly cried. But, he continued, they might try emotional pressure. Or false claims. Be prepared. I was already feeling it. That night, Hina sent me a message. The kids keep asking why you don't want them. I hope you're happy. My hands trembled as I typed, then deleted, then typed again. Finally, I sent one line. This isn't about the kids. It's about respect. She didn't reply. I sat alone in my living room, surrounded by silence and strength I didn't know I had. Standing up for myself had cost me peace, but giving in would have cost me everything. And something told me my family wasn't done trying. 3 days later, my parents showed up again. This time, there was no moving truck. No shouting. Just my mother, my father, and Hina standing quietly at the end of my driveway. I watched them through the window, my chest tightening. Something about their calm unsettled me more than their anger ever had. I stepped outside, locking the door behind me. We just want to talk, my father said. His voice was low, almost tired. I crossed my arms. Talk about what? About fixing this, my mother said softly. Too softly. You've torn the family apart. I took a breath. You tried to move into my house without asking. My father nodded slowly. That was a mistake. A mistake. Not a choice. Not a plan. Just a mistake. Hina stepped forward, her eyes red. I didn't want it to happen like that, she said. Emmy said you wouldn't mind. I looked at my mother. She didn't deny it. I was protecting my children, she said. You have more than enough. There it was again, the idea that my hard work made me obligated. I offered help, I said. I never offered my home. My father cleared his throat. We're not here to take it anymore. We're here to ask for something else. My stomach dropped. What? My mother looked at me with practiced sadness. We want your signature. On a paper saying we helped buy the house. Just as security. I stared at her. For what? In case something happens, she said. It's only fair. I felt the last thread of doubt snap. No, I said firmly. Hina's face hardened. So that's it. You'd let us struggle. I'm not responsible for your choices, I replied. My mother's eyes flashed. Then don't expect forgiveness. Something inside me settled. Calm. Clear. I don't expect anything anymore. There was a long silence. My father looked between us, then sighed deeply. Let's go. As they walked away, Hina turned back once more. For a second, she looked like my sister again, not the entitled woman, not the manipulator. Just tired. Was it worth it? She asked quietly. I didn't answer right away. Yes, I said finally. They left without another word. I went back inside, my hands steady this time. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. And I knew this was the last time they would ever try to take something that was mine. The following weeks were quiet, almost surreal. The oppressive weight of my family's demands, their constant manipulations, and their unspoken expectations had vanished. For the first time in years, I could breathe without guilt. I spent my mornings walking along the shoreline, the sand warm beneath my feet, the ocean waves rhythmic and soothing. Each step reminded me that this space, my house, my home, was mine. Mine to protect, mine to enjoy, mine to live in peace. I no longer worried about anyone barging in or claiming what I had worked so hard for. The restraining order was in place, the locks had been changed, the cameras were up, and the police were aware. I was prepared. Denise visited one Saturday. We sat on the porch with glasses of chilled white wine, watching the sun dip into the horizon. You seem lighter, she said, observing me with her usual perceptive calm. I am, I admitted. It's like I've been carrying a weight I didn't even know was mine, and now I've set it down. We laughed softly, letting the ocean sounds fill the silence between words. For the first time, I realized that peace didn't come from avoiding conflict, it came from setting boundaries and standing firm. My family had tested me, tried to take everything I had built, but I had reclaimed my life. Over the next few months, I continued enhancing the house. I painted the guest bedroom a serene shade of blue, planted colorful flowers along the porch, and built a small deck extension in the backyard, perfect for reading or enjoying sunsets. Each improvement felt like reclaiming a piece of my identity, tangible reminders that this was truly my space, my life, and my rules. Gloria checked in frequently, keeping an eye on the neighborhood for any unusual activity. Her support was unwavering, a reminder that allies exist, even in the most trying times. News of my family's chaos eventually reached me indirectly. According to Gloria, my father had taken early retirement, claiming stress, and my mother had retreated from social life, embarrassed by the fallout. Hina, finally faced with reality, was finding her own apartment. For the first time in years, they were forced to confront consequences for their actions. And though a part of me felt a pang of sympathy for the children caught in the middle, I reminded myself that boundaries were crucial, even if they caused temporary discomfort. I reveled in the normalcy I had fought for. Dinner parties with Denise and close friends replaced family drama. Quiet mornings with coffee on the porch replaced invasive phone calls and guilt-laden messages. My beach house became more than a property, it became a sanctuary. Looking back, I realized the fight was never about money or property. It had always been about respect, autonomy, and self-preservation. By standing my ground, I had not only protected my home but also reclaimed my sense of self-worth. I had learned that love and family should never come at the cost of one's peace and independence. As summer rolled in, I celebrated my 32nd birthday on the porch, surrounded by friends who truly valued me. The ocean glittered under the sunlight, seagulls soared overhead, and for the first time in years, I allowed myself to feel completely at ease. This house, these walls, this space, it was mine. And for the first time, I knew nothing and no one could take that away. I smiled, sipping my wine, listening to the waves. I was finally free.